Good afternoon, happy Monday. It's a miserable Monday, but happy Monday nonetheless. Welcome to this week's live. We are talking all things hunger, cravings, and maybe a little bit of what you fancy. So first things first, if you think that you know someone that might like this video, it's a 15-minute quick bish bash bosh of top tips for hunger. Tag them, hold on, we're telling more people. Okay, brilliant. Sorry. It's been one of them weekends, but if you know someone that might be interested in hearing about hunger and cravings tips, tag them, tag and share this video. Drop me a comment, let me know what you think. Even if you're watching back, drop me a comment or tag a friend. So, hunger. How do we establish true hunger? Because I think we've all been in that place before where we've carried on eating even though we've probably eaten enough. So differentiating between hunger, cravings and the just general fancy food. So hunger, that empty stomach in your the empty feeling in your stomach where you feel like there's nothing in there. We haven't eaten for a little while, and generally our tummy's rumbling. We've got to remember that our brain takes 20 minutes to recognise that our stomach is full. So binge eating can normally come in the what's it called, the style of eating as much as you can, as quickly as you can. It's that, you know, those bad habits, and then your brain hasn't had enough time to recognise that you're not hungry anymore. So generally what you're looking for with hunger is the tummy pains, and sort of thinking about it, I haven't eaten in a while. Cravings, generally a strong urge, generally from something that is got to be that specific thing that you want. Generally a craving, I've noticed, comes from your throat, or in your mouth. So those kind of recognising, stopping and thinking, hang on, is it my tummy that is hungry, or am I fancying something? If I was to eat something else, is that going to satisfy it? If it's not, then it's a craving and not hunger. A general want or fancy. Generally, if you've eaten already, you know that feeling when you've eaten, you think, I could eat that again. Remember that 20-minute rule. So I feel like I'm waffling a little bit, but I'm going to now give you some practical tips. Really, first thing you want to do, you're feeling hungry, you think it's hunger, we really need to establish whether it is hunger or whether it's a craving or just a general want for food. So yeah, job one, like I say, job one is always water. Always water. If you feel hungry, go for water. We should be drinking at least 2.5 litres of water a day. I would say that's a minimum. Obviously it depends on your weight, your BMI, for how much you actually need, but it should be a minimum of 2.5 litres. I generally go for about between 4 and 6 litres a day. So make sure you're having enough water, and you know, if you do think you're having enough water, if you're hungry, first job water. Always first job water. Second of all, as I've already mentioned, think about where that hunger's coming from. Is it genuinely coming from your stomach? Is it genuinely a hunger pang? If it's not, generally having some water might take the edge off, it might not. But is it coming from your throat? So is it a craving? Is it something specific that you want to eat? I always say to my children when they say they're hungry, I'm like, have a drink. Little Brady, bless him, is like, no, drinking's for thirsty, not for hungry. You're with me? Yeah, so really think about where that hunger's coming from. Is it from your stomach or is it from your throat, your mouth? And what is going to satisfy that hunger? Is it only chocolate's going to do? You're not hungry then. And trying to actually realise where the hunger's coming from, and if it's hunger, I keep using the word hunger, but if it's a craving, if it's not coming from your stomach, you don't need to eat. And eating is never an emergency, unless obviously you've got medical conditions. But if you can think of it like a good friend once said to me, it's only hunger. And using that frame of mind of it's only hunger can really make you think, actually, it's not an emergency. It's not an emergency that I eat now. Unless you really have, you know, gone a long while without eating, you know, if you haven't eaten for a day, or you know it's got to all day, then perhaps you do need to eat. But that's the time when you think, if it is true hunger, what I actually need is just fuel. And so you don't need chocolate. Chocolate's not going to fuel you long term. You know, fatty food is not going to fuel you long term. So it's thinking about, I'm hungry. What is the solution to hunger? It's fuel. And the fuel, what I need then, is good wholesome food, and addressing that. If it's a craving, if it's coming from your throat, if it's coming from your mouth, your mind even, that's the time to actually say, no, I need to eat when I'm hungry. I've eaten an hour ago, so it's not my stomach that's hungry. I'm going to be eating in an hour. I can wait for that time. You've just eaten, you know, I've eaten my calories for this meal. I feel like I could eat some more. That's a feeling. That's not a, I'm still hungry. Your stomach doesn't need to overeat. It's recognising the difference between full and overfull. I think a lot of us, certainly if you suffer with weight issues, you can confuse mild satisfaction with, I'm not overfull, so I shouldn't stop eating now. Remember that 20-minute rule. It takes 20 minutes for your stomach to send that signal to your brain to tell yourself that you're full. This is why we covered in previous weeks about eating slowly and mindfully. Let your brain register that it's had the food and that it's actually full. Putting your cutlery down between mouthfuls, you know, setting a beeper on your phone, like trying to eke out how long it takes you to eat, so that message can actually get to your brain to say you're full now. That feeling of, I've just had a massive dinner, but now I'm hungry for something sweet. Again, not hunger. That's a feeling. That's a craving. That's something that isn't, definitely not an emergency. Like I said before, hunger is never an emergency. But obviously with the medical exceptions, but that I'm hungry for isn't hunger. My little boy says it, or all my boys say it all the time. I'm not hungry for an apple. I'm hungry for, if you're not hungry, then you just fancy it. Have some water, you know, have some cucumber, have some, you know, something to keep you tied over. But yeah, so going through the steps, you want to think about water. You want to think about where the hunger's coming from. And you want to think about the 20-minute rule. And then you need to think about, when did you last eat? Because if it was breakfast and it's now dinner time, then yeah, you know, it's time to eat. That's probably hunger. If you've just eaten in the last, 15 minutes, you've got food in your stomach. Your body's got fuel. As long as you're putting the right things in your body doesn't need the fuel, and you need to give that 20 minutes, or even, by thinking, I just ate an hour ago, it's okay, I can last till lunchtime, or it's lunchtime in an hour, I can last the next hour. And just kind of like remembering to focus on the fact that it's only hunger, or it's only a craving. And once you start compartmentalizing those feelings and those emotions, it's a lot easier to think, do I need to eat now? And that's something that can be really, really powerful on your journey. Going back to the feeling of being overfull. It just makes you think of Christmas, doesn't it? You eat and you eat and you eat and you eat, and you're definitely not hungry, but you always get to the it's 8 o'clock. Oh, after 8's out, because it's after 8, because you're supposed to eat after 8. It's after 8, not all day. No, never all day. But the idea is you're you're just eating because it's what you feel like you're supposed to do. And I'm not hungry for that right now. I'm hungry for all the rubbish. And it's just not the case. Yeah, I'm hungry for chocolate is a favourite in this house. So yeah, we do tend to go on the steps of water. No, dinner's in an hour. No, you've just had dinner, you're not hungry. Yeah, and just giving power back to yourself by going through those steps and saying, where's the hunger coming from? Is it something specific I want, or do I just need to feel that hole in my stomach? Food is fuel. We need to remember that food is fuel. You wouldn't put diesel in your petrol car because it just needs something in it, because it's not going to be the best thing for your car. You know, why do we treat our bodies so much worse than we treat our cars? You keep the right fuel in your car to make sure it keeps going, and that's how we should be viewing our bodies. You know, if our body needs protein and vegetables and, you know, a few carbohydrates to get by, why are we putting sugar and fat into it? So, you know, same with the car. You wouldn't put diesel in your petrol car because you know it's not going to work to the best of its ability. We need water in our bodies, at least 2.5 litres a day, and we need good healthy food. And it's really important to focus on that. And likewise, why are you going to put more fuel in your car than the tank allows? It's just a waste, isn't it? And that's how we need to see food. You know, we always say, oh, we don't want to throw food away, we don't want to waste food. But then by putting more food in our bodies than it actually needs, it's the same thing. Like, petrol's expensive. You're not going to put more in so it overflows and overflows and overflows. Why are we doing that to our bodies? Because that is overflowing on, as you know, in inches on our body, and we're still wasting it. If it goes in the bin, yeah, you might feel like you've wasted it, but at least that's not 10 inches on your waist. And actually, that feeling of feeling overfull, it's not a nice feeling, is it? You know, if you couldn't go for like a brisk walk after you've eaten, you know that you've overeaten. And being overweight, like a lot of us are, we almost sort of register that overfull feeling as normal, and it's not. We need to normalise being mildly full and mildly satisfied, and make that the new normal. How nice is it going to bed at the end of the day not feeling like you're going to be sick because you've just eaten too much? Like, we all, you know, if we struggle with our weight, most of us know that feeling. Normalise mild eating. Mild eating is all our bodies needs. Our stomach should only be the size of our fist. This is the sort of portion size it takes to fill our stomachs. And don't get me wrong, personally, I know my stomach's probably bigger than that because I've stretched it. Like people that have gastric bands or gastric sleeves, they have their stomach shrunk, but it doesn't mean that it's not gonna stretch again if you put too much in it. So we need to really make sure we think about our stomachs in a healthy way. Like, even if you think about a water balloon, filling a water balloon up, if you fill it up too much, it's, you know, it expands and expands. We don't want to do that with our stomach. If we want to lose weight, we need to be thinking about that. So my top tips today for differentiating between hunger, cravings, and just a little bit of what you fancy. Always step one is water. Water. My top tip. Number 2, think about where that hunger's coming from. Is it from your stomach? Is it from your throat? Is it from your brain? Take control of where that hunger is coming from and addressing it and label it as such. It's so much more easy to control when you label what the feeling is that you're feeling. Remember the 20-minute rule. It's number 3. Your mind takes 20 minutes to get that signal from your stomach to tell you that you're actually full. So if you're still hungry when you finish eating, give it 20 minutes. Have some water and let your brain have time to register that you're full. think about, and tip number 4 was think about when you last ate. If you last ate an hour ago, are you really hungry again? And then that can help you link back to where's that hunger coming from, labeling it as hunger, craving, or fancy. And, you know, understanding it's just a craving, it will pass. Have you ever had a craving that just never passed? It's because you didn't stop thinking about it. It's because you keep thinking, I need it, oh, you know, I'm hungry for it. Label it and deal with it as such. Same with hunger. If you are genuinely hungry, when am I next going to eat? If it's in the next hour, I can wait an hour. You know, it's not an emergency. Unless, obviously, disclaimer, you do need it for a medical emergency. But I hope you've enjoyed these. I feel like I've waffled a little bit. It's been a bit of a manic weekend. You can hear from my voice I'm still recovering. But please, please, please tag a friend, leave me a comment, like, share, save. Head over to my link tree on my bio. Follow me everywhere. Stalk me as much as you like. This will be going on IGTV, be going on my YouTube channel and my Facebook group, which is Wannabe Losers Weight Loss Motivation. Each live will be set as a guide in there, so you can go back and catch up on previous weeks as well. Have a wonderful Monday, and yeah, keep that hunger labelled and in control.